Hello, I'm in the kitchen today, so forgive the audio. It's going to sound a little bit echoey. Today I'm cooking up something spicy. I'm not. I don't know why I said that. I'm cooking plastic for reasons. This is moldable plastic. You search on Amazon or eBay or wherever, you will find this under various names. Poly is generally in the name, but it's all the same thing. Little beads of plastic, put it in hot water, and once it gets to the right temperature, it kind of becomes a putty, and then you can make things with it. It's used a lot in crafts generally, making little accessories for cosplay and costumes and things like that. I've never used it, so this is a total experiment. The reason I'm using it is because of the mask I want to make, which I mentioned in the previous video, which is for a horror film. And I want to make the kind of framework of that mask out of this plastic, because it's supposed to be lightweight, but also quite strong, quite rigid. There is a bit of flex to it, depending on how thick you get the plastic. So those are the kind of things I need to experiment with, because there's some mechanisms I want to put into the mask. Not only just the jaw, I want to go further than that. I want the secondary movement of the mask bearing teeth and gums before the main jaw opens, because I think that will just add a little bit more realism generally. It'll look a little less amateurish. That's the theory anyway. That's how I have my sketches and how I imagined it. I did a little cardboard kind of version of it, just to try out some mechanisms. And now I've got a better idea of how I'm going to achieve this, but I need to get to this stage with the plastic now, so I know exactly how the material is going to work. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to end up making the mask, not even, a tiny part of it today. It's more of a mess around. I might try and create a few shapes that I will incorporate into the mask in the end. But yeah, this is just to document it. Basically, this channel's about film making, whether it's paint or moldable plastic, whatever it is. I kind of want to document kind of things I'm doing and different techniques and learn something along the way, and hopefully other people will learn. So I am going to get the kettle on, have a cup of tea, and then put the kettle on again, and then melt some plastic. All right, let's do it. So when this plastic is solid, it is actually white. You can either get coloured versions, or you can put your own pigment in. I think you can get some coloured bits of plastic to basically act as an ink or a stain. I'm just going to go with the white because it's not going to be seen. Yeah, you can also do interesting things with UV pigments, which I'm going to play around with at some point in the future. So you can weigh this out if you want, or just chuck it right in. I've got some hot water here. Once it gets moldable, it'll be transparent. Let's go for it. So what you'll find is once it gets hot enough, it'll go transparent. It'll also clump together if you stir it, which is quite useful. And then in order to get it out, I'm just using a fork because I don't have a pair of silicone tongs nearby. But silicone is something you can use because it won't stick to it. It's not sticking to the fork, so that's fine. You just need to be really careful that you don't burn yourself, obviously. So I like to shake off any of the excess water. I've also got a finger bowl with some cold water, so I kind of dab my fingers in before I start playing with it. So you could have a silicone mat, but what I've got instead, because I don't have a silicone mat, is some greaseproof paper that I've just kind of put around some cardboard, because it won't stick to this either. So I'm just going to shake off some of the water, dab my fingers in some cold water, kind of like just tap it, check it. Yeah, that's all right. Don't burn yourself. Obviously, have some cold water ready. And I'm actually melting the plastic in a separate container rather than the saucepan with the hot water. So I can control the temperature a little bit more, and I know that it's not always going to be boiling. And it's kind of like any putty, really, that I used to play with as a kid. And it's quite easy to use. You get, I mean, you know how long you've got because it'll start to go opaque again. And once it's, and you'll feel how tough it is. But it kind of sticks to itself really easily. So here I could make just a ring. Like so. I guess you could use maybe some like cookie cutters or whatever. Things like that. It will stick to metal, but when it's if it's not surrounding the metal, it doesn't seem to like stick that badly. Like I took it off the fork really easily. But if you're quick with a cookie cutter, perhaps you could make some shapes with that. Create some templates with it. But it's, you know, as long as you've shaken off that excess water at the beginning, it really is quite easy to play with, you know. Which is quite nice. There you go, I made number 8. Why not? Whatever. I'm sure at some point I'll find like a practical use for this in the home, like for repairing something perhaps. But anyway, I'm going to put that to the side. So I made a ring out of the plastic earlier, and this is literally about, I don't know, 5 minutes ago. 5 to 10 minutes ago. It's just a solid bit of plastic now. Little bit of flex. Like I can squeeze it a little bit. But that, and it's still quite light. That's going to be useful, I think. I'm definitely going to be making my mask out of this, I think. I think possibly it'll end up being heavier than I realise once I've used as much as I'm going to use. But that's, yeah, this is definitely going to be something I'm going to use in the future for kind of like puppet making and things like that. If you're not happy with what you've done, or say you want to stick, if I wanted to stick this piece to that, then I could just like dunk this piece into water, hot water, and just kind of like stick it to it. Which I could do now, I suppose. So I'm just dunking it. Don't think it's hot enough anymore. I mean, but like as soon as I attached it to it, it's stuck. It wants to be attached to it. It will stick that easily to things. It will stick to plastic and clothing and most things. Not skin, obviously. You can see, like, I'm totally fine. Some nail polish, I think it'll stick to. So be careful if you've got nail polish on. Right, so have another bit of plastic. Just creating a flat area within which we can put this pigment. So I'll go with that. Got this lovely pink. I'm not really going to use the pink much, so I thought I'd use some of that to experiment with. Really have no idea how much to put in, but let's just pour a little bit in. Don't want it to be too powdery. Probably should have dried it a little bit more first. Let's fold it over. I guess I'm just going to fold it through it. Just keep doing this for a while and see if it mixes. Okay, so I ended up reheating it a couple times. I had to keep mixing it. I did a second dose of pink within it. It's already cooling so fast. Just gotta leave it. Leave it as this kind of like almost ball-like shape. I'm going to leave that to dry so that it is totally opaque. Then I can see how well the glow-in-the-dark pigment works, because bear in mind, it does go practically totally opaque when it is set. So it'd be interesting to see how it works, because it is quite, when I shine a torch on just the pigment, it is quite bright, but the effect is going to be dimmer because of the opaque nature of the plastic. So I spent a couple hours playing with the plastic, and you know what? I actually achieved more than I thought I would. Here's the bottom part of the jaw. There would be a secondary jaw element with the teeth inside. This is kind of the framework to kind of drag the fabric over the bottom of the jaw. It's very solid, very tough, but there is a bit of a bend, just the nature of how thin this is and because it's curved. That's fine, I can create some braces. Here is the top part of the jaw. This is going to be on a secondary hinge, which gets triggered by, as this hinge is lowered, it's going to trigger this one to pop up. So the teeth on the top row is going to be the stationary element of the whole mask, really, which will be attached to my head. So as this comes down, that will pop up. As this continues to move down, it'll pull the teeth layer down, and obviously as this one pops up, it will reveal the teeth, which are static. In principle, in my head it works. On paper, it seems to work. But because I can just keep on adding and moulding to this, just dip the end into the hot water, and then all of a sudden I can do things with it again and keep adding to it. I think you need to, if you're doing something this big, you need to think carefully about how you build it, because at this stage, like, that can't fit in a pot unless you've got a big pot. So if you wanted to kind of add things to it, say like here, you need to get that part soft without ruining the rest of it. So then you might have to use a heat gun just to isolate certain areas if you want to build up. That's just something to consider if you're going to play around with this. So as far as the pigment went, so I did this pink ball. I'll show you this in a minute in the dark, because you're not going to be able to tell with the current lighting. But I mean, this is not very pink when it's glowing in the dark. It's more of a kind of like off yellow. You won't be able to tell here. It might be because of the amount of pigment in it and how like thick a piece of plastic it is. I tried with the blue on a thin piece, because I think I might make the teeth out of this. And it's going to be hard to tell here. I'll show you in a minute with the lights off. But the blue is glowing a little bit. You probably can't see it. The blue actually glows blue. So I need to try all the pigments out. I've got like an orange, there's a yellow, there's a couple others. Might be to do with the brand. Maybe I should try some other brands out. But the blue is pretty good. So I'll show you that in a minute. It's been a pretty fruitful experiment, I'd say. I'm quite happy with the way this... Already, I didn't think I'd get to that stage. And I've only done like a small part of it. Yeah, tomorrow, I think, if I just crack on with this all day, because I only spent a couple hours doing that. If I do that all day tomorrow, I might have a substantial amount of it done, which I'm quite excited about. Yeah, so that is my experiment with the moldable plastic. Just search for Polydough, Polymorph, something like that. There's various brands, it's all the same thing, it's just a little white pellets of plastic. And I think they all pretty much, they're all the same material, so they'll all operate in a very similar, if not identical way. And there's loads of other videos online which can probably give you better tips on how to use it by experienced people. But it was actually considerably easy for me. Just don't roll it out on anything plastic. Don't let it touch other bits of plastic unless you're intending to stick it to that plastic. Yeah, I didn't even burn myself, actually. I constantly dipped my fingers into a finger bowl of cold water every time I touched it. Well, the initial time I touched it, until I touched it quite a bit and it cooled down and then it was fine. No blisters or anything, so yeah, success. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I will do some more videos following the work on this film. I probably won't show you the finished mask. Maybe like the finished framework, but not the finished, you know, with the actual skin on and fur and decoration, whatever, until after I release the film, whenever that may be. And then I'll do a kind of like a longer making of, perhaps. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If you want to share it and like, subscribe and all that stuff, I'd appreciate it. But you don't have to. Write a comment. Let me know what you think. Any tips on using it better? I mean, it's quite easy to use, but you know, I'm still learning. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.